They said no. They said it's not possible. Apparently the Reich's industrial capacity is stretched. The tank destroyers are needed for their own divisions. All of them.
And what are we? They're allies. We are dying out there. Our men are facing T-34 tanks with rifles. They must give us the anti-tank gun, or at least give us the blueprints.
They said, and I quote, "The Reich has given you, generously. From now on you should improvise. You are a practical people, are you not?"
He said, improvise?
We have to use what we have.
Sir, we have junk. The enemy's junk. We have hundreds of T-60s that are worthless in a real fight. They are coffins on tracks, and we have more junk, captured guns. Powerful, yes, but too heavy. These are all useless.
Individually, yes, they are useless. What if we take the gun from that pile of junk and put it on that other pile of junk?
General, it's madness. That chassis is a light tank. The gun is a field gun. It's too big. It's too heavy. We would have to cut the top of the tank clean off and somehow attach the gun. It would be a monster.
Then build me a monster. Build me a tank killer.
When World War II exploded across Europe, Romania found itself in a challenging When World War II exploded across Europe, Romania found itself in a challenging position. In June 1941, they were aligning with Germany and committed significant resources to the invasion of the Soviet Union. Despite having a large army in terms of numbers, Romania's military was far from prepared for the demands of modern mechanized warfare. Before the war, Romania's armored forces were quite small and not very capable. Their tank fleet were already considered obsolete, and efforts to get more modern tanks or produce them under license suffered delays and incomplete deliveries. The early battles on the Eastern Front made the cold reality sink in real quick, especially during the intense fighting on Odessa. Romanian tanks with their smaller 37 and 47mm guns were simply no match for the powerful Soviet medium and heavy tanks. Romania needed something stronger, and they needed it fast. While the Romanian army was significantly under-equipped compared to the German Wehrmacht, Germany was heavily reliant on Romania's resources, especially its oil and food crops. Furthermore, Germany's own war industry was strained and was often unable to supply enough equipment to the Wehrmacht. This meant that Romania was consistently a low priority for receiving modern equipment. Germany desperately needed its own tanks and weapons for their own army, and by that creating a critical supply gap for the Allies. This forced Romania into a radical improvisation. They needed modern armor, and the only way was to find a way to build it by themselves. The decision to build vehicles like the TACAM T-60 was not only a strategic choice, it was the only way at the time. It was heavily influenced by the German Marder series of tank destroyers. This concept involved taking an obsolete or captured tank chassis and mounting a powerful anti-tank gun onto it. This was a pragmatic solution for solving tank shortages and the need for stronger anti-tank capabilities. The Marder design wasn't just a good idea for Romania, it was a blueprint for military survival. It offered the only realistic and rapid path to acquire effective anti-tank vehicles by utilizing readily available captured materials like the T-60 chassis and the F-22 guns that Romanian industry could actually handle and maintain. In late 1941 and early 1942, the Romanian army managed to capture over 150 Soviet 76.2mm model 1936 F-22 field guns. These guns were quickly recognized for their excellent armor-piercing characteristics, a capability that even Germans exploited. Alongside these powerful guns, Romania also had significant amount of captured Soviet T-60 light tanks. The T-60 was specifically chosen not just for its availability and decent off-road performance, but crucially because Romanian industry had the capability to maintain its engine, which was a license-built American Dodge design with common spare parts. The design philosophy behind the TACAM T-60 was directly inspired by the German Marder series, which involved mounting a powerful anti-tank guns onto a chassis of obsolete light tanks. The Romanians aimed to create a vehicle with small dimensions, strong firepower, well-sloped armor, and a maximum speed higher than most of the tanks. The conversion process was remarkably straightforward. The T-60's original turret was removed, and the new pedestal was built to securely mount the 76.2mm F-22 field gun in its place. To protect the gun and its 3-person crew, a 3-sided fixed fighting compartment was constructed. The armor plates for this compartment were often salvaged from captured Soviet tanks like the BT-7 cavalry tanks. Minor modifications were made, such as adapting the gun laying mechanism to Romanian practices and adding a recoil guard for crew safety. The original 70 horsepower gas 202 engine of the T-60 was kept, but the radiator was reshaped to create more space for ammunition storage. The suspension system had to be reinforced significantly to handle the increased weight as the vehicle grew from 6.5 to 9 tons and the powerful recoil of the 3-inch gun. In total, 34 TACAM T-60s were built by the Leonida factory in Bucharest in 1943. This project highlights an interesting aspect of Romanian engineering: innovation through constraint. Romania didn't have much experience with designing an armored vehicle from scratch, with their previous armored projects being license modifications of foreign designs or conversions based on foreign chassis. Yet, they successfully managed to mount a large 76.2mm gun onto a small T-60 chassis, a task the Soviets themselves tried to do and failed at, as they also tried to recycle the T-60 into a tank destroyer. This shows that while Romania did not have a strong enough industrial base to build tanks, they had the right mindset and smart engineers to design them. The TACAM T-60's primary strength was its firepower. The Soviet 76.2mm M1936 F-22 field gun was a proven tank killer. The vehicle carried 44 rounds for its main guns. Crucially, beyond just using a captured Soviet shells, Romanians developed their own specialized Costinescu armor-piercing shells. These rounds, weighing 6.6 kg and traveling at a muzzle velocity of 751 meters per second, could penetrate a 72mm of armor at a 30-degree angle from a range of around 1000 meters. This made them dangerous for the T-34s, whose frontal armor was typically 45mm at a 60-degree slope or 45mm on the turret front. The development of the Costinescu ammunition was a significant achievement, as without effective ammunition, even a good gun is rendered useless. While the firepower was a clear strength, the TACAM T-60 also had its share of weaknesses. Typical of improvised designs, its armor was relatively weak, and with the fighting compartment offering only 15mm of protection, the underlying T-60 chassis itself had relatively thin armor, making the overall vehicle vulnerable. The fighting compartment was open from the top and from the rear, leaving the crew highly exposed for artillery fire, grenades, and infantry attacks. Like the German Marder tank destroyers that inspired it, the TACAM T-60 had a tall silhouette, making it a relatively easy target to spot and hit. Furthermore, unlike the original T-60, the conversion removed the coaxial machine gun, leaving the TACAM T-60 without any secondary armament for infantry defense. Despite these drawbacks, the TACAM T-60 did have decent mobility for its class, thanks to the T-60 chassis. It offered decent off-road performance and could reach road speeds of up to 40 km per hour with an operational range of approximately 200 km. Its maintainability was also a significant operational advantage, ensuring these vehicles could remain in service. The TACAM T-60 tank destroyers were publicly showcased during the parade in Bucharest on 10th of May 1943, and by June 1943 they were sent to the training centers to prepare crews. However, their first combat deployment didn't occur until 1944, when 14 vehicles were assigned to the Kantemir battle group, an improvised unit defending northern Transnistria. They also reportedly participated in major engagements such as the Jassy-Kishinev offensive and the Budapest offensive, with Romanian sources briefly mentioning the involvement also in the defense of Bessarabia in August 1944. This combat timeline reveals a critical challenge, a late war dilemma, or obsolescence on arrival. The TACAM T-60 was considered useful in 1942, but became old by 1944. Yet, it primarily saw combat starting in 1944. This creates a significant temporal challenge. A vehicle designed out of an urgent need in 1942 only reached the front lines in significant numbers when it was already becoming outdated by the rapid pace of wartime technological development. The TACAM T-60 stands as a testament to the ingenuity of the engineers of the Romanian army and to the ability to adapt in the face of military and industrial limitations during World War II. It was a pragmatic and necessary solution born directly from the urgent need to counter the superior Soviet armored forces when German aid was insufficient and local production of new complex tanks was simply not possible. After Romania's defection, as far as I understand, the surviving vehicles were repossessed by the Soviets, and at least one TACAM T-60 was tested in Kubinka, suggests Soviet interest or evaluation of the design. Despite its limitations and its somewhat late arrival to the battlefield, the TACAM T-60 successfully filled a critical anti-tank gap for the Romanian army. It was part of a broader Romanian effort to convert obsolete tanks into more effective tank destroyers, a program that also included TACAM R2 and the Vanatul Dakare R35.